Professional Development Director for the Raleigh Regional Association of Realtors. And our Power Hour series was created for members to connect with industry experts and a place to cultivate those professional development skills. So thank you for starting your week off with us. This morning, Shanahan Ramos is going to help us discover an entirely new approach to not just planning our business for the new year, but for finally creating the business that you've always intended. So we are so excited. But before I introduce our speaker, we have a wonderful sponsor today. Lauren Byrne is with Home Inspection Carolina. Lauren, if you are on, we would love if you could hop on and say a few words.
Yes, I'm here. Can you see me? Hopefully.
Yes, we can.
Perfect.
And I'm going to get you to put your info in the chat also.
I will. Let's see. I'll copy and paste that right now. And I actually thought it'd be fun to do a giveaway today on a Monday. So I'm going to give away a $20 Amazon gift card, if that's all right.
Fun.
Yeah. So all my contact information is there, and then information on how to enter the giveaway. All you have to do is just text me your first and last name. And then later today, I'll be sending you the link to our app. So you can save that if you'd like next time you want to schedule. So there's that. We are Home Inspection Carolina. We service both North and South Carolina. We have over 25 home inspectors in the Charlotte, Raleigh, and Asheville areas. So we also travel over to like the Greensboro, Winston-Salem area, and then down into Fort Mill, like Rock Hill, South Carolina also. But I know you guys are all in Raleigh and in that area, so we do service around there. Along with home inspections, we also do termite inspections, mold testing. We do radon testing. We do well inspections, pool inspections, all the things. But I did want to take a minute and talk about radon today, because I'm not sure if you guys knew this or not, but Radon Awareness Month is in January. So we've been spending the whole month of January making sure that everyone is having their homes tested for radon. Radon is actually the second leading cause of lung cancer. So it's right after cigarette smoking. So it's really important to make sure that your home is safe and you're breathing clean air and those levels are normal. So we do offer radon inspections. We do not do mitigation, but we can send you to someone who can help you out there. But just a couple other things. I've added the link to our website there in the chat section. If you want to like bookmark that or save it, it's a great resource you guys can use. We have tons of checklists. There's different resources you guys can print off and download, distribute to your clients, just to kind of add value in that way. So that's there. We use automated repair requests. So that is just a program that kind of helps you put together that repair list after the inspection. It takes all of the items from the summary of the inspection report, and then it gives you drop-down boxes for each one where you can select if you'd like the seller to repair, replace, so you can ask to receive monetary compensation for that item, and you can like determine the amount and everything. But then it just puts all of those things in one document, and you can send it to yourself, email it to yourself, or wherever it needs to go. You can attach it to that due diligence request form, and it kind of just helps in referring back to those things that need to be repaired on the home. So we've heard lots of good feedback about that program. But yeah, we do Monday through Saturday inspections, so we can come out on a weekend, and we promise next day reports. So you will have your report from us within 24 hours. We know that turnaround time is really important, so we try and get them back to you as quickly as we can. So if you guys have questions or anything, I would love to answer them. Yeah.
Thank you, Lauren. Please check her information out. She put everything in the chat and enter that giveaway. What a fun way to start the day. So our speaker today is Shanahan Ramos, and she is a real estate marketing and communications specialist. She's with the Strategic Agent, and she has worked with real estate agents and companies since the 1990s and has truly learned the language of real estate. She has worked as director of marketing for 3 large residential real estate companies before joining the Strategic Agent to more closely work with agents in new and different ways. At the Strategic Agent, she specializes in assisting real estate agents to strategize every part of their business in order to realize the full promise of a successful real estate career. Welcome, Shanahan. We are so excited to have you, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mary Rachel. I am going to share my screen here, hopefully, successfully and get us started. So good morning to everybody. Thank you, frankly, Mary Rachel. I had forgotten I even sent you that little intro there. So thanks so much. I don't have to introduce myself. So I am so excited to be talking to you guys this morning in Raleigh. As I think she said in there somewhere, I worked for large real estate companies in North Carolina for a number of years. I've since moved away and am more in the Midwest. So I see lots of familiar names in here, and so I'm excited to see you guys online for today's Power Hour. So I'm going to jump right in and try to fulfill on that promise that she just gave you as far as really bringing you a new way to look at planning your business. So most of us have gone through some kind of training or process or even just an attempt at building a business plan. And I've taught it lots of different ways, but I can tell you that I'm really excited to share with you today something that I've drilled down to from a number of courses that I offer, and I'll kind of reference as I go along, drilling it down to 4 steps. And 4 steps, at least 2 of them may not be so obvious to you. So let's just dive right in. The reason this is such, I think, a hot topic and an important topic is, let's just be honest, the real estate business is hard. It just is. That's the reality, and we kind of need to own that. And let's talk about kind of why it's hard, because most of us got into real estate with visions of control, right? Control over our business, control over our time, control over our schedule, looking for flexibility with that control, and ownership. Really finally owning our business, our time, our schedule, our direction, our destiny, if you will. But most of us, a little ways in, start to wonder, where is that control everyone promised? So when Mary Rachel said in the intro, we focus a lot at the Strategic Agent on that full promise of the real estate career, not just being successful for the sake of saying you're successful, but really achieving what you were seeking when you started in real estate. So finding that control that you were looking for, that flexibility and that ownership. So why is this such a big deal? Because frankly, most of us start out in the business, and sometimes even at the first of a new year or a new month or a new quarter, we start out really bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, right? But then it's easy to start a bad cycle. We go from feeling really focused and driven, and then turbulence hits. And I specifically use that word turbulence, which may seem to have nothing to do with real estate. Most of us, of course, think about turbulence from a standpoint of being in an airplane and the bumping and the shaking and the noise. Well, really, turbulence is defined as a state of confusion or disorder. And that's what I find really throws us off track so often in real estate. There are so many variables in real estate that frankly just don't exist in other careers or professions. So I find it extremely important for us to approach this from a really head-on standpoint. So what does turbulence look like in real estate? What causes that turbulence? Well, it can be everything from that crazy client. If you've been in the business anytime at all, you've had it, right? You've had probably even a few of them. And then, of course, the last year or so has thrown even more crazy things at us, like homeschooling. But even in normal times, we have family issues and things come up that really just throw us off track. And something you may or may not think about that is often referred to as the shiny object syndrome. Again, in real estate, this can be really pervasive. And what I mean by this shiny object system is there's always something out there that's going to bring you double the number of transactions you had last year, or going to totally revolutionize your business. If you just buy this program, or buy leads from this source, or use this software program, or whatever it is, that's what's going to change things. And you go from working along your plan to, oh, let's go look at this. And so what we end up doing is we're all over the map. And that's, again, where the turbulence reference comes in, that we're just all over the place, and we're up and we're down, and we start the year with really good prospecting habits, and we've got our buyers and our sellers, and we get them to closing, and then we're back at zero again, and we're up and we're down. And that means everything from financially to emotionally to productivity wise. And that's just not good. That's not what we want to happen. But I think most of us, if I asked you, could relate to this. I work with agents all the time, and when I talk about these ups and downs and the turbulence of real estate, I always get a lot of the, yeah, that's what makes real estate. And I see somebody typed in the chat, yeah, you get it, you relate to this, and it makes real estate exhausting. It just really, really does. I see lots more yeses. Thank you for that. It's always nice on this side of a webinar to see some input, like, yes, people are really listening. Okay, so the point of this is, how do we stop it? How do we even this out? And how do we stop it? And I'm glancing to my right. I have an extra monitor here, and I see someone, Julia just commented in our chat, I'm new, so she hasn't experienced this yet. Well, Julia, then you're in the right place, because hopefully we can forestall a little bit of that for you. By taking a look at this early on in your career, hopefully we can keep you on that level field. But here's how we do it. Whether you're new, whether you've been in the business for a really long time, here's my approach to how to fix this. And it's at the core of the strategic agent. And it's that we have to get strategic. It's just bottom line. We have to get much more strategic. Again, I kind of reference real estate can be very different from other professions, from other industries, and partly because there's no rule book. There's no instruction manual. It's kind of up to each of us as individual contractors, which is one of the things that draws us to the business, but it's up to each of us to figure it out, what we want to focus on and how we're going to go about it and our approach to the business. But all too often that becomes, in practice, just winging it. That you're just day to day going along and seeing what works and being much more reactionary than proactive, and, to be more specific, strategic. So what I mean by this is that strategic means having a plan. But more than a plan, and it was said in the beginning, I'm bringing this to you hopefully as a new way to look at business planning, because most of us are pretty good about sitting down and developing some form of plan. But all too often, I think, frankly, that plan is just a wish, right? It doesn't encompass the, okay, here's what I want to achieve, but what exactly do I have to do? What are the actions that I have to take to achieve my goals and complete my plan? And the how. Literally, what do I need? What scripts might I need to learn, or processes that I need to master? We need to become masterful at many of the things that it will take to achieve our goals. We need to manage our brain. our brain is a big part of this, and managing your execution. Managing your brain and your execution go hand in hand. Again, it's really easy, and the biggest part I see people focus on in the classic way of building a business plan is sitting down and saying, okay, here's what I want to achieve, and here's all these great things that I'm going to do to achieve them. I'm going to hold open houses. I'm going to farm a neighborhood. I'm going to prospect to my sphere of influence. I'm going to ask for referrals. Those are all hard things for most of us to do. Prospecting and asking for referrals and that proactive marketing out there doesn't come naturally to most of us. So we need to make sure that we're becoming masterful at managing this process by knowing the what and the how. So that's what I know that's all a little broad at this point, but as I promised, we're going to drill down to the 4 ways to do this. And I have left time at the end for questions as well. So the formula that I'm sharing with you today is those 4 steps to become to a strategic year. And let me tell you, I didn't just come up with these 4 steps for today's presentation, though I love sharing it here. These come out of 3 of my Strategic Agent online courses: A Strategic Year, Become Brilliant at the Basics, and Slay the Roller Coaster. Now, I mention this just so you know the sources. And as I go through the presentation, I'm going to show you the resources. They do come from those courses. And at the end, I'll share how you can get them if you'd like, one of them in real detail. So just so you know kind of the context of where all of this comes from. So let's dive in to those 4 steps to a strategic year. The first one, not surprisingly, and so I'm going to tell you now, we're not going to spend a lot of time in this one today, is determining your why. So we all know that we need to start from that place is what motivates you. What is it that you want to achieve this year? And really, even more importantly, why? So we'll spend just a few minutes on that before we go into step 2. And that is establishing where you are now and how to get to your why. So these are in a very specific order. And I'll tell you now that I find step 2 is the part that most people skip or just don't even think that it is something that they need to do. So more about that in a minute. Step 3 is mastering both the practical, but also the mental game of prospecting. So yes, again, I see people start out with the best of intentions of, I'm going to do an open house every weekend, or I'm going to prospect really consistently to my sphere. But what does that look like? Exactly how are you going to do it? And how are you going to keep yourself motivated to do it? So that's what we'll tackle in step 3. And then step 4, really importantly, developing those rituals that create consistency in action. Okay, so ways that we can keep ourselves moving forward and in action. So as I said, we're going to cover this one the most briefly. Step 1, determining your why. So this is what is it that you want to achieve in 2021? Now, I know, of course, we're coming off of an absolutely crazy 2020, and I'm not going to take us back there, but let's, deep breath, close your eyes, look forward to 2021 and really start putting thought into what it is that you want to achieve. So things like, I will travel to blank, wherever it is. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I am dying to travel again. So that's a big motivator for me. Most of us have been stuck at home, right? I will invest in, be it your retirement, your college fund, your health and wellness, whatever it might be. Things like, and some of you will chuckle at this, but things like, I'll work only 5 days per week, or maybe it's 6 for you, or whatever it is. I will take 2 one-week vacations, or whatever it is for you. But one thing I do want to point out on all of these whys is notice that there is not a dollar sign. There is not a dollar sign on this slide. Here's why, and I like to express this through a quote. This is by the author. I always mess up his last name, so I'm just going to say Robert. Robert, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, put it this way. And he said, money is not the goal. Money has no value. The value comes from the dreams money helps achieve. So I think all too often we fail ourselves when our goal or our why is a number, a dollar amount, or number of transactions, or sales volume, or whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, what we're seeking that dollar amount for, or number of transactions, et cetera, needs to translate into things like this. Obviously, these are just my examples, but okay, great. I could set a goal to net $100,000 at the end of the year. Well, that's just a number on my bank statement, unless I translate it into it's going to allow me to take my family on that Disney cruise, or I can invest X percentage in my son's college fund, or whatever it is. The money is not the goal. In order to really motivate yourself come the middle of April, when you're tired of prospecting and you're tired of doing open houses, that dollar amount is not going to motivate you, but that trip to wherever will, and the investments you're going to make in yourself, etc. So as I said, I was going to be brief on the why, so that's it. We've established our why. Let's move on to step 2. So step 2, as I said, this is the one that I see all too often kind of ignored. And that is really the first part of it, is the establishing where you are now. Okay. Again, most of us are good about some version of the why. And maybe I'm going to do an open house every month. I'm going to whatever, to get to my why. But what I'm talking about when I say establish where you are now is actually a little more formal process than that. And I refer to it, and you've probably heard of it, as a business analysis. You need to analyze where you are now and what needs to change to get you to your why. Okay, so where are you now? What are you doing? What's working? What's not? And what do you need to change to reach your goals? Whether your goals are, again, it's, financially motivated so you can pay for that vacation, or, I've not been seeing my family enough because I'm working 7 days a week, 24/7. What can I change in my business to reach that goal? Well, we need to analyze where you are now. So a business analysis is a process of defining areas of strength and areas of needed improvement in your business. And why is it worth it? Simply because it enables change. You can't change something if you don't know what you're doing now. You could set lofty goals, but if you're not basing those decisions on anything, you're already setting yourself up for failure. So as I said before, I'm going to show you resources and make some of them available to you, this one in particular, and I'll show you more about that in just a minute. These are the resources that we use. This in particular comes out of the online course I mentioned, A Strategic Year. But you could do this yourself. That's really what I want to share with you today. And it's really just, it's a process that starts with very simply a business analysis of your business for the last 12 months. This is your closed business. You could do this in an Excel spreadsheet. You don't have to have this fancy form, but this just helps you visualize what you need. So the name of your customers, the amount of the sale, remember this is your closed business for the last 12 months, the commission that you earned on that, was it a list side or a sell side? And what was the source of that business? Was it a referral? Was it someone came into an open house? You farmed a neighborhood? What was that source? And you're literally going to document that down. And I know if this isn't something that you've been tracking on a regular basis, this might be time consuming, but I promise it will be worthwhile. And especially as I go along, hopefully you'll see that. Equally important, I want you to look at the business that did not close. You spent some time, I can almost guarantee, you spent some time, unfortunately, in the last 12 months with people, whether talking to them about listing their property or talking to them about buying, and they just didn't. It doesn't mean it was your fault, but it didn't happen. But we need to account for that time and take a look at it and analyze what went into that. So here again, we have name, the source of the business. Was it someone that you met at your open house? Was it a Facebook lead? What was it? What do you think that lost commission amount would have been? Obviously, you're going to have to kind of estimate here based on what you know they were looking to buy or sell. And then again, was it a list side or a sales side? Okay, so you're starting by just kind of documenting all of this data. Then we're going to start evaluating, and we can do this because you've documented it in these two worksheets or Excel spreadsheets or whatever you want to use. But now, and this is a place I find so often, I'll ask an agent about their business. Well, where does most of your business come from? Oh, my sphere, or whatever they might say. But very often, of course, I get the answer of sphere. But I can tell you, I've sat down with countless agents and worked through this process, and not all the time, very often, of course, the agent's right, but very frequently they get to this point and go, oh, wow, I guess, I didn't realize actually most of my business came from, farming that neighborhood that I've been doing for years, or my open houses, or social media, or whatever it may be. So we really want to evaluate what's working and what isn't working. And we just keep drilling down on this process. So based on this, let's evaluate your prospecting activities and what's working and what's not. Maybe you're doing open houses once a month, once every other week, whatever it is, but are you getting the money out of it? If you're not, stop it. Or get better at it, either one. But if you don't know, if you're not analyzing it, then you're just going to keep doing that same thing, or you have the potential to do so. What this allows you to do is take a formal approach to looking at where you are now, what your vision is, your why, your goals, etc., and where that gap is. So I mentioned I'll share some of these resources with you. And this is the first one, because there are even, I know I just showed you several pages, but the full document here is an 11-page business analysis workbook. And if you go to this link, the strategic, and I'll show this again and I'll put it in the chat, so don't stress too much about doing it right now, but you can download this workbook for free, because I said before, I find this to be the most neglected portion of developing a strong business plan. So I'm going to give you this resource. You can, of course, tweak it to use it how you, but I think you'll find it to be extremely helpful. Okay, so that was step 2. We're ready to move on to step 3. So this is mastering the practical and mental game of prospecting. As I said before, I know there are some agents that absolutely do take very naturally to prospecting, that they have the gift of gab. They have, whatever it is, they can go out and not hesitate. Thank you for putting that link in the chat. Not hesitate about prospecting and asking for referrals and, all of that type of thing. But for most of us, prospecting comes a little more difficult. And frankly, it's the lifeblood of a good real estate business. So we have to do everything we can to really master every aspect of it. And so that's what we're going to tackle here. And then this will carry over into step 4 as well. But the approach that I take to this, and this actually comes out of the second course that I mentioned, which is the Brilliant at the Basics. So that is my online prospecting course. And what we focus on in that course is to get extremely detailed about your prospecting. And so here's what I mean by that is, again, I said these steps are in the order that they are in for a reason. We always start with that why, setting our goals and really making sure we're clear on what's going to keep us motivated. And then through our business analysis, we learn what we're good at, what maybe we're not as good at, and what is really working for us. So now we can come in and start developing our prospecting plan. Not only from a standpoint of what works for us, but what are we going to commit to? So again, you could create your own version of this, absolutely. But here's an example of, based on all of the work I've done already so far on my plan, I'm going to commit to certain number of prospecting activities. I recommend 3 to 4. You might do 2 to 3, whatever you think works best for you, but document that down. So this is where I'm going to put my focus. And it may not be where you've always done so in the past, be it because you did that analysis and realized that, I thought it was working for me, but when I look at the numbers, it really doesn't. Or it may be because of changes in the market. I know for most of us, we're struggling to find inventory, right? So this might be the year to focus much more on listings and go back to those basics of the first prospecting, the for sale by owners, those properties that expired some time ago, farming, be it geographically or demographically. But the first step is determining what are those prospecting activities that I'm going to commit to for the next 90 days. So that's where we're going to start. But then we get more specific with each prospecting method. So I said I'm going to select 3 to 4 prospecting methods. So again, you can create your own version of this, but I'm going to write up at the top of my legal pad or whatever you're using, okay, open houses. That's my #1 prospecting method. Well, what's my goal? And be specific. How many prospects do you want to gather out of these? How many, even all the way to contracts or closings? What is your goal? So that at the end of this 90-day period, because we're just approaching this 90 days at a time, essentially a quarter at a time, then I can look back and say, did I get 10 new prospects or 2 closings or whatever it may be? My start date, and then what is it I'm going to do? Well, I'm going to commit to holding an open house, and be it traditional in person or virtually, and obviously I'm just picking open house at random. It could be farming, it could be anything, but let's get really specific. What are you going to do and when? Well, every Monday, I'm going to select the listing that I'm going to hold open. And so Tuesday, I'm going to start promoting it. And I see there's a comment that the link's not working in the chat. I'll take a look at that. Thank you. And make sure I got that to you correctly. But let's get really specific about what you're going to do. And that's the point. It can't be so broad as just, I'm going to hold an open house every week. Okay, but what are all of the steps that go into that? And then I also really like the approach of the bottom of the form I have here. What are the consequences of not doing this, basically, whatever it is? What are the consequences of not doing it? Well, I'm not going to reach my goals, so I can't take the family on that vacation. Whatever, I'm not going to reach my goals, and so I, will have to work that. I'll have to work 7 days a week instead of the 5, or whatever it may be. This is pretty detailed, and I find automatically some agents love it and some don't. So I'm just showing it here to you as an option. And what this is a 1-page weekly activity tracker. So I find all of us are motivated and driven in different ways. This probably for me is even a little more detailed than I want, but I've had other agents really embrace it and be able to get to the end of the week and say, well, did I really do everything that I committed to, and did it result in the results that I was focused on? So again, another way to approach it if you choose. Something to remember about prospecting is that it is a skill to be learned. I know some people absolutely don't like the S word of scripts. I don't either. I think, but scripts are a great way of just getting familiar with the language around different activities. So if there's something, let's say, and I know I keep using open houses, but it's just kind of, I guess, on my mind today. If you've looked at, in your business analysis, you were doing open houses, you like doing open houses, but you're not quite generating the results that you wanted, that's a prospecting skill that you can learn. And it can involve learning some easy to use scripts and objections that come up and how to handle those, and give you opportunities for practice. And there are lots of like these power hours. Find different opportunities to master these skills. Don't look at prospecting. I get the objection, I guess you will, sometimes with agents about learning prospecting of, oh, I'm just not good at that. I don't have that gift of gab. You can learn it. It's a skill. So that's another part of your business analysis of determining, maybe you really want to focus your business on listings, but you find that you're not winning most of the listing presentations that you get. That's a skill. You can get better at that. So make sure that you're focusing on that as well. And then we'll start moving into step 4. Yeah, Cindy put a comment in the chat. Hard to meet new people with inventory so low and masks are required. You're absolutely right. But there are ways to do it, be it through social media or virtual events, or even going back to some of our good old direct mail postcards and letters. And yes, it is definitely much harder than it used to be, but there are ways out there to do it. And we do cover a lot of that in the prospecting course. All right, so step 4 is developing the rituals that will create consistency in action. And so this is where I move into, and this is just what I call it, but overall, I just want to share the approach with you of creating a strategic map. And so what a strategic map, what I'm using that term for, is creating a step-by-step process of almost every activity that you do, that it provides the actions to complete the strategy, so you know exactly what you're going to do with each new type of prospecting activity that you take on. When you meet a new prospect and want to bring them into your sphere of influence, what does that look like? What are you doing? I said back in the early part of the hour that I find with real estate, because there's no instruction manual, there's no HR looking over, or manager so much looking over our shoulder saying, well, this is the process, these are the steps. Create it yourself. And that keeps you from recreating the wheel or reinventing the wheel over and over and over. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples of what I mean by this. You can get these through my programs, or you can create them yourself. And it is worth the time. This is largely what I mean by being strategic, is doing that analysis to figure out your gaps, both what you need to do more of, less of, what you need to improve, and then putting those action plans into very specific actions. So this is a strategic map for my sphere of influence. So what this means is I take a pretty basic and not altogether uncommon approach to sphere of influence marketing. But basically, the first thing I'm going to do is I separate the individual contacts of my sphere into A's, B's, and C's. So A's are I think they have the propensity and the interest to buy or sell within the next 90 days. Because maybe they're a new prospect and I'm already showing them property, or it's someone in my neighborhood farm, or a past client that I based on what I know about them in my conversation, they have the propensity to list or sell, or send me a referral in the next 90 days. So they're frankly going to get the most attention from me. And so on a monthly basis, I'm going to, and you tweak this to match you. I'm going to perhaps call them. Maybe you prefer to do a text message or an email. I'm going to send them a newsletter. I'm going to, now of course, pandemic times where, when I say break bread, I mean like meet them for coffee or lunch, or I know can't do that. As I said, we have to tweak this both for your own personality, but also the times that we're in. So that might be, setting up a Zoom happy hour with them, or a Zoom chat over coffee, whatever it may be, pop buys, birthday cards, etc. My B column is that more, maybe in the next 180 to 365 days, this group has, I think, that propensity to send me business or bring me business. So they're hearing from me in a certain way on a monthly basis, a quarterly, and a biannual. And then I have my C's. So these people, maybe they were just a name on an open house registration, or a lead form that I had on Facebook or something like that. Well, they're hearing from me with the least frequency. But the point of this strategic map is that the minute I meet a new person, I know my process. Well, are they an A, B, or a C? Whatever it is, I put them in that column and my process starts running. I'll show you just one more, a strategic map for holding an open house. There are a lot of steps to holding a successful open house. And if you just, each time you schedule an open house, you just start off running, you're going to miss some of these steps. Well, don't make it that hard on yourself, and don't limit your success. Another way to look at a strategic map, maybe that's my fancy term for it, if you will, it could be a checklist. And so that's kind of what you see here for driving traffic to my open house. Am I going to tweak that for open houses that have to be virtual these days, or just have much more social distancing and all of that? Of course. But at least I have this checklist to work from and to tweak as things change in the market and in the world. That's the concept here. I'm being strategic. I'm not just running off and doing things randomly. And then this is most of us, I am a huge, and I'll tell you, and in fact, I have a legal pad in front of me pretty much at all times, including now. I'm a big to-do list person. And I still do that. But I also developed, this comes from the third program that I mentioned of our Slay the Roller Coaster. And this is, I use this in conjunction with my master, what I call my master to-do list. So you may use this in different ways, but let me just go over what I think is special about this form. So we have two versions of it, both a daily sheet and a weekly. And so this is designed, you can print it out, you can have it on your computer, fill it out digitally, however you choose. But what I find some of the differences about this versus just, a good old-fashioned to-do list is that it forces you, and you can just answer these with one word. Don't make it too overwhelming on yourself. But it starts you off with some kind of cool things to think about your day. So what am I excited about today? What am I grateful for? And what am I committed to make happen? So literally, what am I excited about? It could be that I finally get to go to lunch with a friend, or that I'm, putting the sign up at my new listing. I'm grateful that I got to spend time with family over the weekend. I am committed to getting that sign in the yard at my new listing. Whatever it is, it can be very brief, simple areas. I know most of us probably keep our schedule on our digital, our phone or our iPad or whatever. So it's up to you, frankly, if you want to use this scheduling portion, of course. But I do love these top priority actions. So yes, and the point of this, and the point of having that schedule and the top priority actions, is the schedule has stuff on it that we have to do. Right? I have to drop my kid off at school. I have to pick him up from baseball practice at the end of the day. I'm going to have lunch with a friend. I'm blah, 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 blah. But I need to make sure that I'm focused on my top priority actions in the midst of all those scheduling items. Those scheduling items exist, but most of them are probably not my top priorities. So as I'm going throughout my day, I need to make sure, or even in planning my day, if all of a sudden my daily schedule is filled up, but like I don't have on my schedule putting that sign in the yard of my new listing, well, when's that going to happen? How's it going to happen if it's not on my schedule? So they're kind of a reasoning of having the two on here. Pipeline projects are meant to be like more longer term projects. This isn't something I'm going to work on today or necessarily that I'm going to complete today, but I'm keeping it on my radar. And likewise, ongoing prospecting activities. It is designed as a 2-page document. So I'm not going to bore you with reading through the rest of this, but you can see things like who are you waiting for, who do you need to reach out to, notes, and maybe even your personal to-do list. And then it is designed very specifically. Notice we started the day out. What are you excited about? What are you grateful for? And then we do a review at the end of the day. You know, what were your wins today? I got that sign in the yard. My seller's really happy. What were your lessons today? Well, I was overscheduled and I, you know, whatever it might be. How did you move your goals forward? So it really makes you focus on, did I move my goals forward? Did I? Well, yeah, I got a new listing and it's in MLS and that's moving my goals forward. So I just find it as a really powerful tool to help us through. Really, again, that was focused on developing those rituals that create consistency in action. So I am going to start wrapping up. I've got just a couple more things to share with you so that in case there are any questions, and so if anyone has a question, feel free to drop it in the chat now and I will take a look at that, or question or even a comment. Like I would love to hear, did anything jump out at you like, okay, that I'm gonna do? That was kind of an aha for me. I hope everybody got at least one of those things. So I did not want this to be a commercial for these courses, so it's not gonna be. I'm gonna tell you everything I just shared with you came from these 3 online courses. I have put them into a package for RRAR members. If you want to learn more, here's how. Just go to download that business analysis guide at the link. And I think we saw in there, the link does work. It just wasn't hyperlinked. So you can copy and paste it into your browser. It's totally free. You just give me your email address and you'll within a minute or two, you receive an email back that includes a PDF of this business analysis page, and it gives you some information about the courses and the special package I put together as well. But that's it. Again, I didn't want to be a commercial here. I wanted to give you tips you could actually use. So if I can be of any more help to you, and I'm looking at the chat and I'll refer to that here in a second, my email address is here on the slide. I'll put it in the chat as well. support@thestrategicagent. If you have a question but didn't want to share it with the group or you think of it later, email me. I'll get back to you as quickly as I can, whether it's about this or even anything else. I am happy to help with that. So I am going to glance at the chat. Awesome, thank you. I do see a question. Can I get a copy of the daily weekly planner? Yes, I will do that as well. So what you can do, I didn't build it into the business analysis, but I just didn't think to. If you request that, the business analysis, give me a few minutes more and I'll also send you, and that's to everybody, not just the person that asked that question. So if you request the business analysis workbook, I'll then follow up by sending you the daily, weekly sheets. I'm happy to share that with you. So Kristen just signed up for my email list. Thank you. You'll get weekly, I try to get weekly guides and information out to everybody. Programs. Daily rituals. Laura likes the daily rituals. Things you can incorporate into your day daily. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm getting lots of great feedback and comments. I'm not seeing any specific questions. Mary Rachel, I'll kind of turn it back over to you for comments or thoughts.
Thank you. That was so inspiring. So many good takeaways. I think we all have some homework in the best possible way. Thank you for all of that information. We really appreciate it. We'll make sure the link is hyperlinked. I think that was the only problem earlier, but it was working. And Again, I'll hang around for a little bit. I'm going to post our next Power Hour. Christy Robertson, if you want to chime in, our next Power Hour is going to be on Paragon Map Search. Christy's not teaching it, but Lynn is. Can you share a few things really quick? I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
I love being put on the spot. Thank you very much, Mary Rachel, for giving me a chance to share. So Lynn, Brid, and myself are going to be back at the next Power Hour. Lynn is going to walk through all of the steps that you need to kind of remind you about using the Paragon mapping tool. As you are aware, the TMLS Board of Directors decided to give us a slower takeaway with that. So you have between now and April 1st, it is now just no longer a required field. And that means that you don't need to put it in with listing input. But the key here is that it's not as reliable in your searches. So Lynn is going to share all the tips and tricks for creating those map area searches, how you can use the area overlay in the map to recreate those searches to get more accurate information. So we really want to continue to share that. And I'm going to give a shameless plug for something that we are put together this week as an MLS for you guys. And that is we are going to pull together and have a great presentation that's Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 10. There's a link that went out today on the Paragon homepage for some COVID practices, rules from NAR, things from the CDC to keep in mind, and just some tips and tricks. It's just an hour-long open conversation for anyone that wants to join us with any of those days. Just a reminder, because we do not want to lose our essential status. And so continuing to be mindful of those things. So thanks for the chance to chime in, Mary Rachel. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Christy. Lauren, did we have a winner from our giveaway earlier? I don't know if you're still on.
Yes, I put it in the chat section, but it was Terrence Thomas.
Oh,
So
good.
congratulations.
Thank you. Well, perfect. Well, like I said, I'll hang around if anybody needs anything. We're happy to be a resource. Thank you again, Shannon. We really appreciate it, and hope to have you back soon.
Absolutely, anytime. I love it.